The NRL has been seeing some incredible growth over the last few seasons in terms of their viewership numbers, attendance numbers, as well as just in terms of their finances, all under the guardianship of Peter V'landys. But here are 5 things I think the NRL could be doing to make that growth exponential. First one might seem silly and a bit minute to some people, but it's going to be developing a new game for console, PlayStation, Xbox, whatever, as well as coinciding with having a Netflix documentary. Now, like, in terms of the gaming thing, it seems stupid, but I would say a large portion of the reason for the growth of like soccer, football in Australia, as well as watching the NBA, is through how good their games are. Like in terms of your FIFA and as well as NBA 2K. I know personally myself when I was in high school and growing up, that those games were like the pinnacle. They were the best things ever. And it got me into watching the soccer and into watching the NBA and those sort of things. And it's just a vessel to sort of appeal to that younger audience. PlayStation is selling millions and millions of units of the PlayStation 5 at the moment and whatnot, and will continue to do so in the future. And I just think it's a bit of a mark on our game. Like, there'll be so many kids getting into rugby league at the moment, and they just want to play a game, and they realize it was made in 2017. It's just not up to scratch, is it? And then in terms of like the Netflix documentary, we have to have something like in terms of maybe it can be following Reece Walsh, Nathan Cleary, and like Tom Trbojevic through a season, the Trials and Tribulations or something like that, or Kalen Ponga as well, like these big names, these successful superstars that bring the eyes to the game anyway, having a bit more of an insight behind the scenes, like maybe like a Drive to Survive type series. You could do that with a few clubs or like all the clubs, ideally, so then people can pick what team they like, kind of thing, rather than just being funneled into let's go for Penrith. Because again, we see the growth of F1 globally. There's been so much success through the Drive to Survive series, and yes, like within F1 like circles, it's you're a Drive to Survive fan, like you're not a real fan, this and that, but it still brings eyes to the sport, brings money to the sport, helps to develop and grow the sport, and it seems like Peter V'landys is trying to push that international flavour throughout rugby league. This is a great way to do it. I saw recently the other day that there's a rugby union Netflix documentary out. Like, we're behind the 8 ball in these kind of things. Like, yes, we're catching up slowly, but like the time is now. We need to strike while the iron's hot, while rugby league is at its absolute pinnacle, in my opinion. This is the best it's ever been. So we just need to keep pushing that agenda, and I feel like a Netflix documentary is a great way to do it. It's so accessible by so many people. When you like, people just want to see good television, especially people in the sports world. So if there's a good rugby league documentary, there's a good documentary about anything coming out, like I'm gonna watch it. And sports fans globally are the exact same. If someone in South Africa hears about a good documentary and they like sport, they're gonna watch it. The second one is I would love them, and I know it's not possible at this stage anyway, is to ditch regular season games at a core stadium, like your Thursday, Friday night Rabbitohs games out in Western Sydney, out at Homebush. It doesn't work. I know that the clubs are making some money off it and generating revenue and whatnot, and that's kind of what this whole thing's about. But, geez, it looks awful for our game when you look at, a Friday night 6 o'clock game, Rabbitohs versus whoever, some like a Queensland team that like doesn't draw many fans in New South Wales, and you flick over to the AFL and there's 80,000 at the MCG on a Friday night. It's just not good as a spectacle, and maybe rugby league will get there in terms of being able to draw that many people just to a Friday night game, but we're not there at the moment. And like, I had a look last night while I was planning for this video, and it's a 23-minute drive without any traffic, which is very rare in Sydney, from Redfern to Accor Stadium at the exact same time, from the exact same spot. To get from Redfern to Allianz Stadium, it was 7 minutes. You could nearly probably walk that, honestly. And there's just the ease of transport, the access of getting there. Everything's so much better to be at Allianz. I know there's it's the Roosters' home stadium. It's a government-owned stadium. If it's the Roosters' home stadium, why are the Sydney FC and the Waratahs playing there? Come on. I just think it looks extremely embarrassing for our game when you flick on the TV and there's 14,000 people there. There's like 6,000 people there, maybe. It just looks awful. And in that massive packed out stadium, and it's always dark and just looks cold and empty. Yeah, not a good look. Let's ship those games off. Who else? Oh, Bulldogs play there as well. They can play their games at CommBank. That's around the corner. Yeah. Thank you. Then another knock on our game in the last couple of years has been the bunker, and they've just got too much input in my opinion. And yes, I know they spend millions of dollars on the thing, and it just hasn't really worked out the way that we've wanted to. I think, look, being used for tries is good, and being used for captain's challenges is good. Apart from that, it's kind of rubbish. Like, I'm sorry, but if a referee misses an act of foul play, he misses an act of foul play. He's human, and that's what I think. Like, it's just in terms of the consistency. That's what pisses everyone off, right? Like, personally, if a ref makes a wrong call, yes, in the moment I'm going to be upset about it, but 3 days later I'm not going to care. What I'm going to care about is 3 days later when my team, something happens on a Thursday night and it costs my team the game. Then on the Sunday, the same thing happens and it's the opposite call and it wins that team the game. It's like, well, hang on, my team's going to miss finals by 2 points now because of that, and that decision could have changed the whole outlook of our season. Anyway, the other thing is, when you're watching rugby league with someone who's new to rugby league because the game is growing and you're trying to get them into it and introduce them to it and stuff, and they get something happens in the game and you explain the rule, the interpretation, and why the decision was made, then the very next game or the very next day, the same thing happens, same scenario, and it's a different outcome and different result because of the inconsistency from the bunker, because we got too much input into the games. It's like, how do I explain this? You can't. It's just like, what you've got to say is, yeah, look, we've got a bit of an issue in the game at the moment. And that sucks, especially when you're trying to bring new eyes and new attention to the game. Look, I get it. If someone's had a swinging arm and they want to, the referee just wants to make the right call and says, hey, can I get some help in terms of whether this is a sin bin or a send-off? Yeah, I get that. But, we shouldn't be blowing penalties for things that happened five tackles ago or 40 meters down the field. That honestly sucks, and it's just a tough watch. The next one is going to be reducing the length of the season. Now, I know, again, this one right this second isn't possible because of the broadcast deal and all that sort of thing, but it just needs to happen, doesn't it? The plan from what we've sort of heard is they're going to extend the competition to 20 teams, and then everyone plays each other once, and you have 19 games and whatnot, reduce season length, yada yada yada. That's not going to happen till 2036, and that's just too late. I think if you're going to change it then, why not change it now? We'll just change it when PG comes in. That way you've got a 16, 17 game season where every single game is so pivotal and so crucial, and it just makes it such an exciting watch. And then it also allows you for a rep period, which is going to tie into my next point as well. But it also, people are going to be less likely to get injured from fatigue. So soft tissue injuries, the numbers of those will be vastly reduced in terms of percentage per games and whatnot, because obviously if you play 16 games a season compared to 24 games a season, there's going to be less injuries, you know what I mean? But we saw last year, Nathan Cleary, Tom Trbojevic, Tina Asul Malawi were all injured and out at the same point. Kalen Ponga missed time due to injury. All these big stars, massive stars from soft tissue fatigue-based injuries. There was a point last year, because we had an injury crisis last year. The numbers were sort of around the same trajectory, but it was just the quality of players that were getting injured because they're playing so much footy. I'm pretty sure there was 120 days, I think, between the last game last season of the Pacific Championships to the trials week 1 this year. That's not enough time when they get 3-4 weeks off and then they go into a preseason. Rugby league is such a high impact sport on your body. We can't be playing this much footy. As I said, it's hard to come up with a solution, but at the moment I feel the best way to do it is just play every team once, and then if you play, so say for example the Dragons versus Manly Win Stadium this year, next year they versus Brookvale Oval, and it makes the draw so much easier to maintain, that sort of thing. It makes it fairer as well because every team versus every team once. As I said before, point number 4 will tie into point number 5, and that is the properly promoting the international game. Now, Peter V'landys has come out and said that that's something he aspires to do, is promote the international game, make rugby league global, because why shouldn't it be? In my opinion, it's the better rugby code, and rugby union has a massive international presence, so there's absolutely no reason why rugby league can't do the same thing. But how we're going to be doing this is we're going to be bringing in a rep period because we have the time now, because we have a reduced season length. So what you do, you block out 4 weeks in the middle of the season, you play your Origin, and then you also play some Pacifica tests, you have Samoa versus Tonga series, you can have a PNG versus Fiji series, or Cook Islands can get some proper games and some proper coverage and that sort of thing. And then you can even have like a little mini try series, whatever you want to do. But it's actually going to be proper, as well as I would love to see them bring back the Anzac Test, like one off week, like weekend, block out a weekend, you got the Anzac Test on. It's an awesome spectacle. But I just think it would be unreal if in the middle of the season you've got like Friday night you've got PNG versus Fiji, for example. Saturday night it's Tonga versus Samoa, and then on Sunday night you've got Origin, or Sunday during the day, even better, you've got Origin. Like, it'd just be such an awesome spectacle. And I know, again, with the broadcast deals, it's not going to work. With Nine just wanting Origin on a Wednesday because they want more money, it's not going to work. But for the growth of the game, it would be perfect. Like, come on, what are we talking about? So here are the 5 things that I felt the NRL governing body needs to change or implement to make the growth of the game of the NRL so much better and just take us to the next level as just a global superstar of a sport. Obviously, right now, all of them have loopholes and hurdles and things we've got to do, crossing the T's, dotting the I's and whatnot. And a lot of them right this second unachievable. But it's certainly something that we can aim for and make our game the greatest it possibly can be. If you like this video, drop a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for more rugby league content coming your way in 2025. Don't forget to Scotty, drink your water, and Bradman, do your best.